Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another this and that video. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is a little bit of the gardening I'm going to be getting started on hopefully this week if all goes well. And if you're new to my channel and you don't know what a this and that video is, I like to explain this right off the bat so people don't get irritated. This just makes up a small portion of the types of videos I put out, and it's more of what I call a potpourri style with just a little bit of everything. It's basically to give you updates of ongoing projects, things I got to get done this week, lead you back to older videos that I have that I might already be showing you how to do some of the things that I'm doing, and so on. So let's get started. So one thing I'm really excited about doing for this garden season is the GreenStalk planter, the vertical planter. And I had heard about it before. I think it was from Starry, and actually I forgot all about it until the company just approached me recently and asked me if I'd be interested in giving it a try, and I was like, yes. I mean, usually I delete emails like that, but because this is a US-based family-owned business and it is actually a product I'm interested in and have seen others use, I decided I would jump on this one. So as such, I have been given an affiliate link that if you choose to purchase the product through the link, not only does that help us out a little bit, you also get a discount when you do that. Or wait until I do an update on once I get going. But I wanted to talk about what I plan on doing with the one I have. So what I have is the 5-tier, and I only brought a part of it in because it's too big for me to show it all right here. This is just the very top. This is the part that you put the water in, and then it sits on top of the 5 tiers. And then this little gray part goes in between each tier. And then what happens is you put the water in here, it flows down into each one of these and then waters each of the little, what they call pockets, into those flower shaped pieces that you'll see. I also got the mover because I'm going to be using this on our deck, on our front deck, this particular one. And if I'm happy with it, I plan on getting at least one more, maybe a few more that I can use on the back deck and the front deck. And so I need something that we can move around easily enough, especially if I change my mind, decide I want it somewhere else, or in case we need to do another finish on the deck. So definitely having something to move it on is really important. And the kind of cool thing about this is that your water can flow into this, and you can, there's a little outlet there, and you can let the overflow just run out, or you can put this cap on here to hold it in place. Or they even give you this little short hose if you want to redirect the water somewhere else, which I think is an excellent idea, especially if you're looking at recycling it and maybe using it on other parts of your garden and so on. So as you can see, I got the dark brown. It comes in 4 colors. It comes in the terracotta, which is another color I like, but I like more subdued colors as much as I can go with. You can also get the green, which is a little too bright for me, but some people may like that, or you can get the stone color. And my plan for this first one is to use it mostly or completely for strawberry plants, because I'm working on having all my strawberries out front, or most of them at least. So some of them I'll be transplanting. When Ryan and Kayla got married, she had asked him to make a pie tree, because instead of having wedding cake, she had pies. So this little pie tree was used to display at least some of the pies. And so after the wedding was over, she had no use for it anymore, so she gave it back to us, and I said, okay, fine, I'll use it as a strawberry tree. I was putting little pots with my strawberry plants on it, which is still like that right now. But the problem with that is, though it looks really cool when they're all growing well, some of my pots are a little too small and the strawberries have already outgrown them, and so they didn't do great in them this last year. So what I plan on doing is taking the smaller pots, taking the strawberry plants out of those, and then putting them into this GreenStalk vertical planter, and then looking around at any runners I already have that have some viable plants on them and putting those in there. And if I don't have enough, I may just go ahead, which I should, but I really want to get it going right away, so I might pick up some starts from our local nursery just to really fill that up, because I'd really like that one to be all about strawberries. And there's so many things that you can grow in this thing. There's lots of herbs that I could think of growing in there. I think thyme would be a beautiful herb to grow in there, as well as your nasturtium flowers, because of the way they like to drape. And those are kind of things that you might want to put on the bottom tiers, because you don't want anything too drapey and thick on the top that's going to shade out the ones on the bottom. And then lettuces, I think, would be another great option for growing in these things. But you can pretty much grow anything you want, you know, as you can see by the different pictures I had put up. But you can also go to their website. You know, if you go to that link I'll be putting down below, and you can kind of check out, they have a photo album where you can see what other people have done, so you can get some ideas if you think you're interested. Now, here's the thing, if you have lots of garden space, this might not be for you. But if you're someone who lives in an apartment and you have maybe just a little deck outside, or maybe even inside, this could be a space-saving idea for those who need it. Or you just don't have a lot of outdoor space for putting in a big garden, but you can do something like this. Going more vertical like this can save you a lot of space and make it more viable for those who really need them. I'll be doing updates down the road on that, so you can see and let you know what I think of the product as it goes along. But I have a really good feeling about this right off the bat, so I think this is going to work really great for my strawberries. And then the other garden thing I wanted to talk about today is getting my tomatoes and my peppers started. Usually sometime in February, whenever I can get a chance, is when I like to start those, and I start them in the house. Now, I do have a video I did sometime in this past year about growing tomatoes, so from start to finish, and I show how I start them and the way I grow them. And my way is going to be unique to me, but you can check it out, especially if you're someone that lives here in the Pacific Northwest or any other very wet and cooler climate. That might be a method that will work good for you. So I'll go ahead and put that video link down below. But as you can see, I just brought out a couple of my different tomato seeds. So I usually save my tomato seeds in slices, dried slices like this, on paper towels, and then just plant the whole slice. Or if, like in this case, it's kind of, that was a pretty big slice, so I'll probably divide that one up into 4 parts and put them in different pots. And then here's some black vernissage, same thing. I think there's another one here. Oh, and then the purple, another one of my favorite ones to grow. And then this last year, I saved seeds from my Chinese 5-color. Now, the last color they turn is red. So they go through different, as they're growing, they start out purple, cream, yellow, orange, and then the final color they turn along the way is red. But there is this point, I just love this plant. There is a point along the way where they have actually all 5 colors at the same time, and it makes it a beautiful plant, and it's one of the best growing peppers for us in our area. So, and I think part of it is because they are a smaller pepper. But anyway, what I did this year was I took some of this past year for 2020 was I picked some of the peppers when they were right at that end stage, and then just brought them in, let them dry naturally. And so what I'll do is when I'm ready to plant these, I'm just going to break open these little pepper pods, because that's what they are now, and then use the seeds directly from there and start them in my little pots. So the peppers and the tomatoes always start at the same time. Around here, they really need a jump start. And you'll see in that video, but I'll go ahead and say it again, is I don't use any special grow lights. I don't use any kind of special heat, just the heat from our living room and the light coming in from the window. And I found, even though I've tried other ways and tried using some different lights, I found just using the natural light coming in the window and the heat from inside the house was enough to get me some really good healthy starts. And I've had the best results doing it that way and planting it the way that I do from the previous year's seed. That's it for the garden part. Now let's move on to a few other things. My chickens, they started laying a little earlier this year than usual, but then again, they did start molting earlier than usual in this last summer. I was surprised. Some of them started, I swear, I think it was midsummer when some of them started molting, and usually they don't start molting until fall. But they're making up the difference by starting to lay. This is actually probably eggs from just a couple of chickens. I usually let them pile up before I wash them, because here's the great thing about chicken eggs, and a lot of you who already have chickens already know this, but when the chickens lay the egg, there's a bloom, is what they call it. It's a coating that naturally goes onto the egg that seals it, and then your eggs can last for weeks without refrigeration as long as you don't wash them. And so I don't leave them that long. I usually just let them pile up for a few days, but that might be about a week's worth right now just because I only have 1 or 2 chickens laying like maybe every other day. But at least they're starting to lay, and the timing was perfect. I just ran out of the fresh eggs from last year, from the chickens that were the last ones to stop laying. I just ran out of those just when these ones started coming in. And I still have a lot in my freezer from 2019. So I'm doing good on eggs. It's been great though to not have to ever since we've had chickens, I've had no need, even though I only started off with 7 and we do sell our excess eggs and or share them with family. I have yet to need to either break into the freeze-dried eggs I bought from Honeyville years ago and have a number 10 cans, or to go to the store and buy eggs from there ever since we've had our chickens, and it's just been great. So again, I can't say it enough. I recommend, if you don't have chickens yet, but you have even just a small amount of room, enough to have a few, I recommend working on getting some backyard chickens. Remember the quote that Marjorie Wildcraft said, that if 1 in 3 families had backyard chickens, there'd be no more dependency on the big corporations selling eggs. You could just buy your eggs from your neighbor, or you could be the one selling them to your neighbor. And then you'll have enough eggs as well for yourself. But I'm going to link to my last chicken related video I did. I don't remember what all I covered, but I think I was talking basically about the benefits of having chickens. And I'll go ahead and link to that down below if you're curious and like to check that out. All right, so another thing is we were finally able to get a hold of some organic oranges again. And it's just so rare anymore. It used to be our local store carried them quite a bit, and now it's kind of part of it is I don't get down there very often anyway anymore. And then the other thing is, it just seems like an off and on again kind of thing when it comes to getting organic oranges. So I was able to get some, so I started dehydrating up some more orange peel. And I haven't decided if I'm going to keep these ones whole or if I'm going to powder them up. I have a video I did on orange peels and the many ways that I use them. So anyway, I was glad to finally get some organic orange peels. I've got a jar back there of some organic orange peels. I like to leave the whole ones for using in teas. Now I have a video that's already set to publish. I think it's got another week, maybe 2 tops, about my latest tea recipe that's more of my antiviral, anti-cold flu kind of thing. So that recipe's coming out, and I did mention the orange peel and how I typically like to use that in there. And now that I'm able to get some organic oranges again, I'm doing that again and adding that to my antiviral tea. And then another thing you can see here, it might look a little gross, I had a question recently about, because someone made milk kefir out of powdered milk. Well, that's not what this is. This is actually whole, just regular whole milk. And I basically, what I'm doing right here, because I hadn't made milk kefir in a while, is I pulled my milk kefir grains out and rinsed them out, because they've been sitting so long in that milk, and they were still good. There, I could still hear a little bit of fizz, but I decided it would be a good idea to go ahead and rinse them out, add them to a fresh batch of milk, and then let them sit for a day. And then I might rinse them out and then do that one more time. And then I'm going to experiment making milk kefir with powdered milk, whole powdered milk. Now, I did read somewhere online, I came across that it can be done. I think it's going to depend on the quality of milk you use and making sure that you're not using any of that powdered milk like the Nestle brand I'd mentioned in my milk video I just did. You wouldn't want to use that because of the added ingredients. You want it to just be whole powdered milk in the highest quality you can get. So I feel pretty good about the 3 different types of powdered milk I have stored up. I think those would be good. I might even throw a little bit of that heavy whipping cream in there too, powder, and see how that works, because that's going to make a richer kefir. Because you can do that with your kefir. You can make you can use heavy whipping cream and make kefir out of that and get a nice rich thick kefir that you can use for making cheese or yogurt out of. Well, it won't really technically be yogurt because yogurt is a different type of bacteria used. But anyway, so I do have some older videos on kefir, both water kefir and milk kefir, and I think the most recent one I did was the many ways you can use milk kefir, and my favorite way to use it though is as a buttermilk replacement for adding to biscuits and pancakes and such. But you can do a lot of things with that. So anyway, I'll link to that video down below. All right, now someone recently reminded me of these, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I forgot about it because I'd meant to try these a lot sooner. Now, since I don't use a food saver anymore, I'm just done with that, as a lot of you know. I've been through 4 of them, and I'm kind of tired of them breaking down every 2 years. And I've switched to using mason jars for freezing in. However, the drawback to the mason jars is that, one, especially with a mason jar shortage out there, I'd like to save as many as I can for canning purposes, but also they do take up a lot more room in the freezer, and you do have to worry about them breaking. Now, I'm still going to be doing that for some things, but there are other things that I do still prefer, especially with my freezer space getting more and more limited. I do like using Ziploc bags. Well, I don't like using Ziploc bags, but I will use Ziploc bags to help save space. Now, one of the things I like to freeze my eggs in, I'll freeze them in 2s, I have a video on that too, are the breast milk bags. And I'll probably still do that because they're just the perfect size. I was hoping this would be a good size, but when they came in, I realized these were a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be. These are the snack size ones. So what I have here is a set. I have 2 sets. One is not opened yet, but there's several different brands out there. I just grabbed one. It looked like it had pretty good reviews, but these are silicone zip seal bags. So I'm going to be giving these a try, and I like to freeze things like cut up bell peppers and stuff like this, because this is actually the perfect size if I'm going to use it for a stir-fry vegetable, or because bell peppers freeze up beautifully, any kind of peppers really. And then you have more of your quart size right here, and then there's the gallon size. Now, the gallon size I like to use when we get out and pick blackberries. I still would freeze my blackberries in Ziploc bags, but usually they only last a year, and even the freezer bags or the higher quality ones, they're usually only a one-time use. So here what we're looking at is not only getting away from the plastic. Not that silicone is perfect, it has its own downfalls, but it's something that's going to be more reusable and supposedly will last a lot longer than your Ziploc bags. Because I'll use Ziploc bags as many times as I can, but what I have found is usually once you froze anything with them, they're pretty much useless. Most of the time, not all the time, but you just want to check them for any holes. If you're going to go use it, what I'll do is I'll fill it up with water and seal it up, and then just kind of squish it around, and if any water comes leaking out anywhere, then I know it's trash. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to giving these a try. And the other thing I like to use these bigger ones for are when I'm picking my grapes at the end of the year. And freezing your grapes first is a good thing to do before you make your wine or juice out of, because it breaks them down. It makes them a lot easier to crush and get the juice out of them. So I've tried a few different ways with the grapes, and I found that's just the best method. And if you're interested in my winemaking series, I'll go ahead and link to that playlist down below. And as I said, I'll be doing an update, probably a video just on these down the road. I don't know how long out it will be. It'll just depend on when I actually get some stuff frozen up in it, and then see how well it holds up in the freezer, how well it might keep stuff from getting freezer burnt and so on. So it could be a while. But if you're interested, I'll go ahead and link to these ones down below. At least you can take a look at those, maybe just compare to some other ones. And check in any of your local stores to see if they have anything like that. That's one thing that's nice about shopping locally, is you can actually do a hands-on thing. Even though in our very small and very remote town, we do have a great local store that I did a video on a couple of years ago that I'll link to down below. But even then, it still doesn't have everything we need. And to get some of that stuff, it's a long drive to the next town over, and even that place doesn't have everything we need. So yes, we end up doing a lot of shopping online. People who live in our town. It's not just me, it's pretty much everybody that lives here, because, you know, that's just what we got to do. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, I do have a few different videos out on taking care of your wood kitchen products. Now this will apply to any wood products. I'll link to the most recent one I have on Care down below, but I was thinking about this because it was time for me to redo my chicken cutting board. Now, when people buy the wood products from us, I finally got around to typing up and printing out some letters for Wood Care to go with the cutting boards, and then realized I need to make that letter where it's more where it will go for any kitchen things. Well, I'm going to use up the ones I already have printed off, but if I send you one of those, if you order, let's say, a pasta drying rack or rolling pin, and I send that, yes, it's applicable to whatever wood product you buy. This one I have to do the most because I use this one quite a bit. This is the one Patrick made for me, and I love my chicken cutting board. It's just the right size, and it's cute. But I also have this old thing that I've had since we got married over 30 years ago. In fact, our 31st wedding anniversary is coming up real soon. But anyway, this was actually just one wood. And because back then I had no idea how to take care of cutting boards, and this one got used so much, it ended up cracking, and Patrick had to take it apart, then cut it down on the other side. I don't remember what side it was, but it cracked on one side. And then what he did was, to make it look right, since it was kind of off to the side, was he cut the board into 3 parts, and then, you know, took out that cracked area and then filled it in with 2 strips of walnut, and it actually made it a little bit wider. So this is my other favorite cutting board. It wasn't long before I learned how to really take care of this, and it sure made a difference, making sure that at least a couple times a year, for things I don't use as often, or maybe even once a month, that I give my cutting boards a good treatment of the coconut oil, and just to keep it in good shape, makes it look nicer, brings out the grain in the wood. Especially when you're using something like coconut oil that's naturally, you know, antibacterial, antiviral, and, you know, you're doing stuff on there that's going to help kill anything. All right, well, that's my this and that for this week. Don't forget to check out the links I'll be putting in the description box down below, and to be watching for the videos I'll have coming out in the near future. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.